Apollo 11, Apollo 11. Do you read me? Moon to
One
Earth,
to
moon to
smile.
Earth.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, hopefully we're going to get the signal back, yeah, from
Charlotte,
Budapest.
Budapest, Charlotte, Budapest. Do you
Yeah,
read me?
exactly. Actually,
Priom.
yeah, yes, exactly. I'm actually in Germany, so it will be Karlsruhe, Budapest, a bit closer than Charlotte. But yeah, actually, I'm going to Budapest very soon. I'm going to be there this weekend for the final day of the Olympiad. So looking forward to meet all the great people there, all the legends.
All right. That should be, I mean, if the atmosphere is going to be anything like it is in the National Gallery today, you are in for a very good time. And of course, this is the rest day of the 2024 Chess Olympiad, which continues tomorrow with the seventh round. A critical round is India, headlined by Arjun Erigaisi, whose perfect score is on a rampage. Will they continue their unstoppable streak? Well, we will find out tomorrow. But right now, Judit Polgar seems pretty unstoppable herself. She's got a lot of good positions. Um, and as soon as we fix and get the audio working, we might get her for a quick, very quick interview. Um, she's doing everything.
That would be awesome. Yes, we hope we're going to get her very soon here with us. But for now, maybe we can look what has
Mm-hmm.
happened in the games for now at this round that she's walking. We can see her in a beautiful green dress there, and
Yep.
yeah,
Uh-oh. And bad news for her opponents. So just a quick update, Angelica. The um Armen Juhas's group is down a piece, so that might be Judith's first win. Right now I have the Chess.com community game open. Also a extremely good position for Judith. She's got two bishops against two knights. There was a missed opportunity earlier. And Judith is better on the first board against the Hungarian sports legends. But I want to spotlight the Chess Kid community, which is still in a bit of trouble, but a lot less trouble than they were in just a couple of moves ago. We thought that this game was going to be over in a couple of moves, but Judith did not exploit her opportunity to the fullest extent. In this position, she took on d5 with the queen. Knight takes d5 was preferable. c6 was an excellent move found by the chess kid community. Maybe Faustino Oro stepped in. Judith defended
probably.
her e-pawn, but bishop c5 and knight f2 forced Judith to give up and sacrifice her exchange in order to avoid a repetition. She's got big compensation for that exchange. That knight is coming into d6, but the position is pretty double-edged.
It looks like black is having those pair of bishop, but unfortunately for black, there is such a beautiful pawn chain from h2 all the way to the e5, the square on d6 for the knight. I mean, it looks just a perfect position. I don't even know if it's a compensation, if we can call it compensation or already some advantage for Judith.
Yeah, definitely, mega compensation, uber compensation. And, white has a pawn for the exchange, and Judith could also snag a second pawn on b7. The issue is that if Judith goes pawn grabbing, that opens up the b file, and this is how you get those rooks to jump out of their cages. This is inadvisable because white's going to lose b2. So Judith will likely play a move, like e3 to chase this bishop out of the center. But I would argue that the position is rather messy because, black will start activating the bishops and kicking white's minor pieces away. So Judith definitely has to be careful on this board. And speaking of Judith being careful, I think we might get Judith in the studio to share her thoughts after all, just whenever she has a moment.
Yeah, exactly. She is finishing her next move, I think, on the one of the final boards, and she's going to come to us to share her thoughts on how the games have been going. And we see actually even in this game, yeah, that chess kids are so not so bad at all as they started. Yeah, it looked like
Mm-hmm.
such a bad choice in the opening, as well as a navigators, right? This news navigators also started pretty
Yeah.
badly, but then they managed to recover. So this is what chess is about. This is what simul is about some blunders, missed opportunities. Anything can happen, and anyone can try to be resilient against the legend, can try to be at least.
Very well said, Angelica. Simul, if you're playing the Simul giver, it's all about teamwork, right? Everybody contributes. You want to make it, you want to make life as hard as possible for Judith on all the boards, because, then that'll increase the likelihood of a mistake on another board. But Judith has been doing fantastic. She got off to a good start on all the boards, and she's got pretty overwhelming advantages on most of them. I'm going to flip on the game against the sports legends. Judith probably just a couple moves away from joining us in the studio for a couple of moments to share her thoughts. This is looking pretty good here as well, as the sports legends might have missed some opportunities earlier in this game. And Judith's got that 3-on-2. You pointed this out very early. Maybe you set those pawns in motion. What do you think?
Exactly, and those knight on b6 is restricting the rook. Rook on b8 is doing there nothing. Yeah, just looking at the pawns, and knight looks like paralyzing the position of black on the queen side. The bishop on d3 also looks perfectly. I mean, sometimes maybe looking at the king on the g8, potentially some bishop b1,
yeah.
queen c2, let's go. Or a queen a4, unfortunately not yet possible due to the bishop, but
hey, it is possible. Why not a Botez gambit?
It's legal, right?
But if you can go a4 and b5 and chase this bishop away, then queen e4 becomes a problem, as does rook fd1. Judith is actually thinking right now on this very board. This is a big moment. I think if Judith finds a4, she's on the path to victory, but she might prefer a calmer approach like rook fd1. Maybe this gives black a chance to deploy the queen to f6 and put some pressure on f2. I'm really lobbying for a4 here. I think that's the secret sauce.
Yeah, she has a huge advantage on the queen side, and she's have to try to go for it. Otherwise, there are some chances for those bishops on the d4 and c6 to be activated, because both of them are looking at the king side. So she hasn't played the move yet.
No. And I think she might have, we might get a little bit of a delay in the moves coming in. But Judith is completing her U-turn. She seems to be in great spirits, pretty happy with all of her positions, as she should be. And her time management has been great. She's got over an hour, over 90 minutes on most of the boards.
And talking about the Global Chess Festival, it's 10 years anniversary, and it's first time actually since 10 years that all three Polgar sisters are there, because on the first Global Chess Festival in 2014, they were there. Also, I think for signing books, but this is basically second time or first time since 2014, where three of them are there, since Susan Polgar, of course, has been busy at the Webster University before she resigned, and now she's there at the Olympiad and also at the Global Chess Festival, which is really exciting, which unites the Polgar sister for book signing and for other activities.
Well said. Great to see the sisters reunited. Such a force in the chess world, and Judith showing that her strength is still nothing to sneeze at, as she does put the rook on d1. And having made that move, she joins us in the studio. Judith, can you hear us?
Yes.
Judith, welcome.
Judith, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking just a couple of moments. We won't keep you long. We know you have a simul to play. But Judith, can you just share quick thoughts on the atmosphere and on how you think the simul is going so far?
The atmosphere is very cool. Actually, normally we have the Global Chess Festival on a Saturday, and we are fully packed, thousands of people. This time it's on Tuesday because of the free day of the Chess Olympiad. And we are very happy that still it's fully booked, even though it's not a weekday. We started it at 10 o'clock, and we had many different kind of programs they're running. We had a book signing also with my sisters, which we couldn't finish after an hour and 20 minutes because I had to start my simul, this one. So far, in some game, you saw that I have a piece up against the Hungarian team. So I'm happy there. Then I have some very interesting positions, for example, against Chess Kids, but also Chess.com community is also pretty good. And but there is only one game I'm winning at the moment.
So Judith, do you feel like all the communities are trying to be trying to resist, trying to do all their best?
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot of fun because we have, for example, the Hungarian sport legends. I know them from other occasions, and I've never seen their faces so serious. Like they are taking it seriously, and they do have their fighting spirit out of their own sports as well. And I see that they are enjoying it. Also, we have an artistic team which is playing there. We have like 7 or 8 people together, and they also have a lot of fun. So I'm very happy for that.
Judith, one last question, and then we'll let you get back to crushing all 8 of these groups. Can you quickly share your predictions as to the main Olympiad and maybe any performances that have impressed you thus far across the sections?
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm so busy around my festival and also visiting the Olympiad time to time, but not the playing area that much, that I haven't seen too much of games and results. But I think India is very strong, both women in the open and the women's section. But I think there is a lot to come, a lot of drama and excitement. I love the way Ivanchuk was playing that I was following. So it's nice to see the very new talents, fantastic, great players, but also the all-timers.
Judith, thank you so much for joining us. Go kick some butt in the simul. And it's an honor to have you in the studio. Good luck.
See you later.
See ya. Sia
It's
actually means hello in
amazing.
Hungarian. Funnily enough.
Yes, Sia is actually a hello and also bye, so it's boss. But it's actually amazing, how easy she makes it look to play all those communities on the 8 boards, then come join. We've seen her joining some other interview there on site. Some offline host there was asking her some questions a couple of moves before, and then she's just easily coming to us and sharing her thoughts and still full of energy, even though all the activities started already in the morning. So it's not that she's starting with a simul, but there has been book signing, there has been other activities also on site. So she's full of energy and she's going to try and kick some butts there.
I had the honor of hanging out with Judith a couple months ago. She came all the way to Charlotte. She taught at a chess camp here for very talented kids, essentially 2,000 plus. And I know that they were raving about her for weeks after the fact. It was such an inspiration. I got to be her airport chauffeur, so that's my claim to fame. But speaking of claim to fame, the champions are playing like the champions, and they're playing like the champions of courage because they have come up with a courageous tactic here. Judith, she gave us the interview, but she ran right back to that board because there's a discovered attack on g5, and the King's Indian is such a tricky opening. It never dies.
There are always some tricks. There is always something nasty there. You have to watch out all the time. And when you have some undefended piece, that's one of the keys to the tactics. It's one of the keys to finding tactics. You see the knight is undefended on g5, and you have knight standing on the way from attacking it. And you just jump away, grabbing a pawn on d5. And that's how you're winning a pawn.
That was a flat-out blunder by Judith, who had a nearly winning position after something like rook b1. Instead, she went after this juicy e6 square and I think just forgot about the discovery. Now, it's obviously white is not worse, I think, with a beautiful knight on d5, but frustratingly for Judith, the check on e7 doesn't really lead anywhere appealing. And I think black is actually doing fine here, if I'm honest, after knight takes d5. This is a little problematic suddenly.
Yeah, it looks like a good position for black. How can you reply other than taking the knight? Because the problem is right now two knights are hanging, knight
Oh
on
yeah.
c3 and knight on g4. You cannot just not take the knight on d5.
You have to
Maybe.
take.
Mhm.
And do you have any other thoughts? Maybe Queen E7 there, but that's kind of a bailout move. That's not a move you play if you're trying to win.
Indeed, and yeah, that knight was such a great piece, and the pawn on d5 was basically cutting the position in half, and there is suddenly none of this. I'm just wondering if there is opportunity to take with a pawn on d5, but
Hmm.
taking with the e pawn will allow these two pawns be very very aggressive there with e4, f4 potential pushes, and taking with the c pawn would allow black to have the protected passer on the c5. So it's really tough choice what to do here for Judith. Not even
Yeah.
sure what to say, but knight d5 looks like the best option.
But, from personal experience, one of the hardest aspects of giving a simul is when you blunder, even if it's a small blunder on one of the boards, it's so easy to lose control on some of the other boards because you're frustrated. And even while you're moving around the boards, you're really thinking about that one game. But Judith, she wouldn't be Judith if she didn't have decades of experience giving simuls. And I think she's going to readjust. She's going to play knight takes d5. She might even go after this bishop on c8 and try to drag the champions of courage into a long opposite colored bishop middle game. So we'll see how she adjusts. In the
Then speaking,
meantime,
yeah,
mhm,
speaking about the simuls, you said you can also relate on your own experiences. How much experience did you have in giving simuls and maybe taking sometimes part in those? Do you have some some memories from the simuls?
let me see if this photo is attached to the wall. Just give me a second. I have a
All
photo
right,
that's right
we're going
behind
to
me.
get something special.
All right, there it is. This I was going to show this in the candidate stream with Peter Lecco, but I don't know how much the chat can see. Let me see if I can adjust this so that
Oh,
this is me resigning to Boris Spassky in my first ever simul when I was 9 in 2004. And I can bring this closer to the
wow.
camera.
Just a baby there
Yeah. So you
compared to
can
now.
see the game is in the database actually. So if people want to search Spassky and Naroditsky, you can see me getting destroyed in a night, or if I'm going to hang this back up.
Of course. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing, Danya. Yeah, that's really exciting, to have such memory and being it captured on the photo, and yeah, it's such absolutely memorable day for you.
I learned never to castle kingside in a Nightorf, and I did manage to draw against Spassky a couple years later. Um, but the memorable moment was I was rated about 1500. My dad wasn't too happy at how the game was going against Spassky because I was one of the first players to lose. And afterward, my dad said, you did one thing right. You resigned graciously, like you didn't play until mate. And I was fired up after that simul, so much so that I actually won the tournament that started the next day. Um, and it was
It
a
boosted
very
you.
inspiring experience.
It boosted you. It gave you some energy, right, before the tournament started.
It did. I mean, once the tears were dried and there were some tears shed, I was not planning on surviving only 20 moves against Spassky. I wanted to be the kid who scored the upset, but I was humbled that day. I played a couple more simuls, and then I started giving simuls, and I've given a lot of them just because of all the camps that I've taught at, and um, they're incredibly taxing. So my greatest respect goes to Judith for being willing to give a simul in such a difficult environment with so many spectators against very serious groups of players.
And against millions of people, because on Chess.com or Chess.kit, everyone can vote all over the world. Even you can vote. Everyone, dear viewers, if you're watching and you would like to play a simul against Judit Polgar, you're welcome to join. You have just to type in the chat the exclamation mark play Judit command, and you will be able to join the Chess.com or Chess.kit community and try to fight and try to show some resistance.
Okay, maybe time for a quick update on some of the boards.
Sure.
Looks like Zachary Sane still playing pretty well. Looks like Judit has thwarted the immediate attack on the white king and now enjoys a small advantage because of the bishop pair. I do want to point out that Judit is very close to winning her game against Artful Inspiration. And the game did proceed along the lines that we outlined. C5 happened, and disaster struck the knight, which moved back to its initial square. Judit is munching her way through black's position. C takes d6. She's probably going to take another pawn. This is borderline resignable, and Shalika Black is in total shambles here.
It looks like a huge trouble. How do you protect all the pawns? It's very, very tough. Of course, once this d6 pawn, which was holding the position somehow together, is gone, it's very tough. Yeah, and also now d6 pawn is cutting the position of black in half. Very, very tough to see the continuation. Potentially, bishop can go to c5 square, some kind of prolonging the pawn chain,
Oh, yeah.
so to say. And yeah, also, I mean, a lot of opportunities for white for sure. I'm not seeing the way how black can try to bail out here. Do you see any potential chance?
No, and it does look like Queen B7 was played instead of Queen C8, the transmission adjusting there. But Judit doesn't need to go after the A7 pawn. She can just solidify the D6 pawn as you're suggesting. I really like Bishop C5. She eats positions like this for she doesn't even eat them for breakfast. This is too easy.
This is
this is going to be a 1. Yeah, this is a snack for Judit. This is a 1 on the cross table. And I think we can move on to more interesting positions, such as the one that she has against the News Navigators, who continue to put up a very stellar fight.
Definitely. Let's see what the team of very interesting team, by the way, right? We have there the founder of Chess.Base India, Sagar Shah, the international master. We have there the editor-in-chief of Chess and News, New in Chess, sorry, Dirk Jan den Huizendam. We have also Hungarian journalist Attila Por, Miklos Novak from Hungarian, Magyar Nemzet, I think it's some Hungarian newspaper or something like this, and Dominic Lawson from Sunday Times. I mean, a lot of exciting personalities in terms of news, yeah, and journalism. So what do they have on the board?
Well, they have some news, some rude news for Judit. Her rook on h4 is hanging. Easy to forget about. So maybe king h1 is in the cards, but that walks the king right onto the long diagonal. Let's not forget about this bishop. It's still on c8 because it has to keep the e6 pawn protected. But there might be some nasty little tactics if the king slides over to h1. Maybe king f1 is a wiser decision, but the queen will come out to f6. This is a serious chance. This might actually be the best position that anyone and that any group has against Judit right now.
I agree, and also potential f4 break is a huge threat, I would say. Even after king f1, f4, it would sacrifice a pawn, but it breaks the position and opens up a king a lot. And what do you do actually after f4? You cannot take with a pawn. You can take only with a bishop if you want to take. Maybe it's something interesting to consider.
I love f4, and Judit has made a move, and it is king f1, so she thinks along similar lines. I really like f4. I actually think queen f6, which I suggested earlier, is a really bad move. And it's very bad because it allows white to take on d5 and then reroute this bishop over to e5. And as a matter of fact, black just loses in this situation.
At least an exchange, right? Yeah, so it's very bad. Yeah.
Don't do that if you're Dominique Lawson and Sagar Shah. I think Sagar Shah is going to veto this move. Don't do what Naroditsky points out. Just don't listen to the commentators. Listen to the other commentator.
Don't repeat it at home. Don't repeat it at home, right? Be careful. All right. Yeah. So so some things to expect here. Bishop b7 is also a very logical move, right? Just bringing the bishop out. But pawn on e6 is hanging, actually. I forgot about it completely.
Maybe you sacrifice it. Or maybe you play a calm move like queen to d7 and prepare bishop b7. A lot of options here for black, but they're down to 10 minutes. Obviously, the clock is a big factor. 97.
Wow. Knight is going to the g6. Remaneuvering the knight. I mean, the news navigator for sure knows how to navigate the knight, but the engine is saying it's a mistake.
Engine took a second. It reflected because the problem, Angelica, is knight g6. What does that do, right? It just rook h5. And h5 is a perfectly good square for the rook. There was no reason to move this knight away from d5. It was perfectly placed on that square. Now you've opened up the diagonal for white's bishop. Judith is just going to say thank you very much. Now, the different question is, how does white improve her position? And there's our answer, queen to d2. The queen controlling some dark squares. 97 was a serious mistake. The GPS signal went astray.
Maybe it's not such a huge mistake, but looks like a loss of time. And in such positions where you're up material and the opponent wants to try to create initiative, the time is everything. The time is essential, especially with such dark, weak dark squares, which we're having from e5 to h8 looking at the king. So, and I think I love what Judith is doing. She's playing slowly with queen d2, but confidently, yeah, like she's improving. Move by move, rook h5, we're expecting the move. Just remove the rook and continue the pressure.
Well, and, you know, she senses, and good players, they sense when their opponent is starting to go wrong. And often the strategy is don't stop your opponent. You know, don't disturb. If your opponent is starting to lose the thread, let them lose the thread. And queen d2 is a great example of sort of a semi-waiting move. It's a healthy move. Judith just kind of letting black, feeding black more rope. And I'm expecting rook h5. In the meantime, against Armen Juhas, Judith is up a full rook and has a mating attack on the king side. So I think this might be the first game to end.
Yeah, this looks like everything. Yeah, black is devastating here. What about actually Chess.com or Chess.kit communities? I'm just interested. What is happening?
So Chess.com has 4 minutes on their clock and a very bad endgame, but Chess.kit has, I think, a lot more promise. They still have this very strange endgame. Judith has managed to secure the b pawn without losing her own b2 pawn, and her knight will evacuate back to d6.
Yeah, it looks like the knight grabbed the pawn and goes back, and
there it is.
Looks very safe. Looks very safe. All right, who do we have else? What about the sport legends? Did we check them?
Let's take a
We
look.
haven't checked for some time, yeah.
So actually here, Judith did play rook d1 and allowed queen f6. And in this position, whoa. Wait a second.
What?
Bishop b4 was played. And I guess Judith's idea was that if bishop takes e4, first of all, queen takes e4 gets checkmated in 2 moves. But I think Judith was intending knight to d7. But Angelica, this looks... I'm almost positive the black had something here. And I think it was queen f4.
Just protecting the... Oh, you cannot take on d4. Oh, you're attacking the rook.
And Judith would have been in huge trouble here, because if you take one of the rooks, look at black's bishops. Boom, boom. Can't take on d4 because the rook drops with check.
I think queen f4 is something what was missed. Yes, such an important intermezzo in the position, targeting the c1 rook. I would say it's indeed very tough to spot, but that's what simuls are for such exciting blunders and for chances which the communities can try out on the board against the true legend.
Oh man, the sports legends, when they review that game, especially if they lose, they will not be happy. And it's so easy to trust someone like Judy. You know, someone as strong plays a tactical move, and you just kind of assume that they calculated everything correctly. Happens on every level. Now Judith can drop her knight around and maneuver it to d6. And if that knight gets anywhere near f5, there will be hell to pay for the black king.
I think it's a perfect, perfect good aspect of the game right now. Also in the simul, you mentioned this trust in the opponent. Whole community on each board is playing against such a legend of chess, and of course they tend to trust her choices and not to look for such blunders. Okay, there was this blunder, knight takes on d5 in the one of the games, which was clear that it was a blunder. But in such cases, they're just trusting Judith. She's a legendary chess player, and sometimes also it's happening in the over the board games, just normal classical games. When you're playing against stronger opponent, according to the rating, you trust him. You tend to trust him and not to go for some critical lines that he might blunder. So I think it's also very important for all the beginners to know that this is just a game of chess. This is what is happening right now on the board, and anyone can blunder. Anything can happen. Also against Judith.
And it's so important, just to your point, Angelika, for people to remember GMs are human. Legends are human. And it reminds me of the famous scene from the old Soviet movie 12 Chairs, where a con man named Ostap Bender is pretending to be a grandmaster, and he's giving a simul. Now, this is someone who has no idea how to play chess. And of course, a couple moves in, he blunders his queen. But his opponent famously says, the grandmaster has sacrificed a queen, resign before it's too late, resign to save face. And they're all planning to resign. Then someone decides to capture the queen and figures out that he's a con man, and then he's chased out of the simul room with the board. Отдайте мою ладью. Give me my
Yes,
rook.
give me back.
Famous line from the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how it is. You don't not necessarily have to trust your opponent all the time. So make sure to check all their moves. By the way, meanwhile, we had a prediction on the Chess.com channel, and the question was, how many moves do you think can community team last against Judith Polgar? And the answers were less than 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, or 40 plus. And actually, the majority of the Chess.com community is very optimistic, because 39% voted for 40 plus moves. Very, very optimistic. Yeah, so let's go. Let's try to last as much as possible. And yeah.
Exclam played Judith in the chat to jump into the voting, and I flipped on the Champions of Courage game, where they continue to revive this King's Indian, which looked pretty dead just a couple moves ago, but now black is up a pawn. A queen trade is on the horizon. And if the queens are swapped, I think that white is probably not worse with a knight like this on d5, but white is enough compensation for the pawn, but not more than that. And black will be able to bring the bishop out to e6 and challenge this knight. And let me tell you, this is a big chance, I think, at the very least, to score a draw and nick Judith for her first half point. But with 12 minutes left, they'll have to keep their composure.
Fully agree with you. Huge chance for half a point. Also, bishop on it2 is not such a great piece there in the position. But meanwhile, the news navigators are navigating some attack.
They are navigating some tactics here.
Oh,
breaking news alert. Judith might have forgotten about another discovery, and here she had a commanding position. She was maybe just a couple moves away from winning position. Instead, rook h6, walked into knight to e5, and both bishops are under fire. And if you have to take the knight, not only does black take this very important dark squared bishops, but it forces the queens off the board and leads to an endgame where black is still a pawn up. Uh-oh.
And I have a huge question in this position. What is rook doing on h6? Where does it go? Because it looks like it's kind of trapped, because if rook goes back to h4, it has only a 4 square.
Yeah, it can't get back into the center because of this darn d4 pawn. Oh man, discoveries have caused Judith some problems. Knight e5 is a badass move. I know Sagar Shah was behind this. I can feel his fingerprints all over this move.
Some knight jumps have not been friends for Judith. Yeah, we had knight d5, in this case knight e5. Knights keep on jumping. That's what I can see.
And I think the collective opponents are sensing a turn of momentum. I'm looking at Zachary Sane, who's got a really nice position as well. My biggest concern is the time situation. Chess.com community has 3 minutes. Chess Kit has 4 minutes and is under serious pressure. And Judit is about to pick up 2 points against Armen Juhas and against Artful Inspiration.
I think also very important moment to point out that she has more than 1 hour on each of the boards. So she has not spent so much time. She has still more than half of the time with which she started the simul. So she started with 2 hours, now she has 1 hour, but all the communities are down to 10, in some games 3 minutes. I mean, this is a huge time pressure for decision making, and you have only 10 seconds increment per move.
And let me tell you one other truism about simuls. The second hour goes by a lot faster than the first one. You know, you feel like you have all the time in the world. Suddenly, you've got an hour on all the boards. And, you know, you take 10, 15 minutes on one of the boards to calculate some variations. Boom. Suddenly, you feel the heat. You got 40 minutes. And all of the games are still going. So this is going to get really spicy. All of the games seem to be heating up at the same time. I'm looking also at the Sports Legends. They found a very strong move. They're actually able to create some counterplay here. Judit procrastinated on getting her knight back into the game, and I think she's paying the price for it here. Ooh, that F2 pawn is in the crosshairs of Black's heavy pieces.
Yeah, this bishop on d4 is really a nice piece. I mean, I'm not so sure knight on b6 does much anymore. Like knight on b6 is hitting no targets, while bishop on d4 is targeting that king on g1, pawn on f2. I mean, it's very dangerous right now. How do you keep the f file close? I mean, there is no way. I mean, either you will take on f5 or Black will take on g4.
I mean, it looks like the only move to avoid a worse position is knight c4. And that's not me talking, that's the Silicon Fiend. If you take on f5, because of the pressure on f2, you'll have to go rook f3. And the problem here is that you actually cannot take with the queen, because when the queens are traded, suddenly this rook is undefended. Another discovery will lead to immediate calamity. So you'll have to take with a pawn. And this is a pretty spicy attack here that Black would unfurl against these weak f-pawns. Let's see if Judit can muster up a move like knight c4.
So much tactics, and you have to be aware of all of it. What about other matches we have against, for example, Chess.com community? We have not checked for some time. Is there something exciting going on, some endgame?
Well, it looks like pieces are coming off the board. I think both pairs of rooks are going to come off the board, and I actually think Black has some drawing chances here. Obviously, the bishops are much better in an open board, but Black doesn't really have any targets. And Chess.com, you guys have done a pretty good job of keeping the status quo, keeping this game going. Judit has some technical work to do to convert this into a win.
Yeah, absolutely. So some good resistance here, but 3 minutes on the clock. Yeah, it's not a lot of time.
No.
So what else do we have there?
Okay, so just a quick update. Artful Inspiration has sacked a bishop. We'll get to that in a second. Judit is on the move here against Chess Kid, who have sliced into this pin. Looks like a pretty good position here still for Judit, who's maybe going to drop her knight back to c4.
It looks like the c5 move, first of all, the cutting the bishop, but on the other hand, it's closing the bishop on b6. And it's not going to be active anymore. And after such move as knight c4, the bishop will be like a big pawn on b6 and not doing that much. So it's a bit dangerous. And also, of course, Judit is down in exchange in this position, but huge initiative and a much better position.
Knight
so what about those
possible?
Yes, what about those Artful Inspiration? You were talking about some sacrifices.
Well, they're trying to make the most out of a completely lost position.
Ooh.
And I like what I see because they were getting destroyed. But look at Queen C8 and Bishop H3. Why not? You got nothing to lose, so you might as well. Something tells me Judit is not going to let this go anywhere. I mean, knight to h2. I just don't think black has enough Tabasco sauce on the king side. White can drop the knight back, get the bishop into the defense. I think this is desperation. But it's what you got to do. It's what you got to do in a simul. You got to be aggressive.
You got to try, you got to see, maybe it will work out. But yeah, in this case, there is not much pieces which can attack. But yeah, knight h2 was going to eliminate all the potential attacking opportunities with knight g4. Bishop on g7 is very weak, but still, a good try. What else do we have on the boards? What about the chess nerd community?
Chess nerd community, headlined by Zachary Sane, has a great position. Here, Judith is trying to bail out, but she's worse. And she has traded on e4. But I'm looking at her king. I'm looking at some of these weak light squares. Black is really playing without too much risk here. Again, the biggest factor here might be the clock. 4 minutes for Zachary and his community. But black is better. Clearly better on this board.
Yeah, I'm wondering also about all the rules. Like, what happens if he's going to be, and he and his community will be very low in time? Will he take over the game and then just execute the moves as fast as possible? It's going to be very interesting to see, because otherwise they would just lose on time, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we'll try to clarify that during the break, because you're right. I mean, it takes a certain amount of seconds just to vote on the moves. So there must be some contingency plan. But, you know, I thought that 30 minutes ago, Judith was in command on all the boards. Suddenly, and this is what happens in simuls, right? The momentum has shifted. And it seems like everybody's putting pressure on her simultaneously. But this is where mastery is displayed. And I think that Judith's going to take over the initiative and the momentum one more time. She is not going to let some of these bad positions get to her. And it's going to get really spicy here in the third hour of the simul, Angelika. So maybe now's the time for us to refill our coffee cups.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I'm sure something what Judith right now needs is probably 1 or 2 games to finish off those boards where she's completely winning, and then to have more energy for the rest of the boards. And meanwhile, we'll all take a sip of coffee or water or any other refreshment and be back here in the studio, and we'll see what the opponents, the communities have prepared for the time trouble against Judit Polgar in her simul of the Global Chess Festival 2024. Welcome
All right.
back to the Global Chess Festival of Judit Polgar. We are following the simultaneous exhibition of her giving a simul to the 8 exciting communities, both online and offline. We have sports stars, we have online communities, Chess.com, Chess Kid, Chess Nerd. We have also artists here, and here we have, I have with me Daniel Norditsky. My name is Angelica Volkova. We are your hosts for today. The games are spicing up. Daniel, what is happening on the boards?
Well, we got some wild developments. Before the break, we were singing the praises of almost all of Judith's opponents who were putting some serious pressure on her. But the Hungarian sports legends have made a move that's anything but legendary. They blundered a piece in one move. If the transmission is correct, they've played Queen e6, walking into the X-ray and allowing Judith to pick up the bishop, which I assume she will do.
You see this pin, you see that pawn is not protecting the bishop. I think what Black missed is that they wanted to attack the knight on c4, but they missed it. Actually, after rook takes d4, it was capturing a bishop and protecting the knight on c4. So it's, of course, looking pretty bad as a development for... What?
But Judith didn't play it. She played a different move, which is also winning, but I am stunned that she did not take on d4. That would have triggered immediate resignation. She played knight takes c5. And guess what? This actually gives Black a chance to win the piece back.
Oh, really? I thought that actually there is no way, because rook is now pinned on d8, right? You cannot move the bishop, you cannot take the knight, since Judith would take the rook on d8.
Yeah, this is what Judith is relying on, but I think rook d to e8. I mean, Black is lost. Let's be totally clear. Black is still lost, but this moves the rook out of the pin and it hits the knight, and it essentially forces an endgame, which again is probably lost for Black, maybe completely lost. But I'm really shocked that Judith didn't take on d4. I think this does give Black a chance to at least continue the game, but maybe the sports legends are not able to recover from that blunder. Knight takes e5 is a beautiful move, but there was a simpler approach. Just takes on d4. Will this cost Judith? Probably not in this game, but maybe it'll put a little bit additional burden on her. Given her position on some of the other boards, this might be significant.
I do agree. The more the players, the participants last, the tougher it is for Judith, because it's going to be just extra game going longer, especially if she's going for the endgame, where will we have, for example, a pair of rooks. There is still going to be a chance for Black to create some initiative. You rather prefer to have a single rook endgames. And rook d to e8 was found by Hungarian legends, and we see it on the board. We might see the endgame. We might see it there. Rook takes on d4. Looks like the move is going to be played.
Yeah, I think we're going to get that endgame, and Judith will plan to rook on d7 and win the game. But it's going to take some technique. And all 8 games are still going. Judith under an hour on most of the boards. And the game that is likely to finish first, I think Artful Inspiration might have to resign this one pretty soon, because they're down a piece. Judith found the lovely defensive resource, knight h2, just shutting down this attack before it even began. Now she's trading all the rooks off the d-file. This one is essentially over and done with.
Yes, just trade all the pieces, be piece up and win easily the endgame. And what about the other, like, chess nerd community? I'm a bit worried of her king's location.
This is trouble for Judith. And I gotta say, Zachary Sane and his community have put through an incredible performance throughout this game. But in the last couple moves with knight e4, forcing this favorable trade, and now a5 and a4, and Judith's king. What Judith on the Black side here would be a dynamo, but Judith on the white side, this is trouble, and I think she needs to try to get the queens off the board at all costs, maybe with the move queen to d1. And Black could just take on h3 here at a minimum. Just chomp on the pawn.
Take an extra pawn, threatened to take on g4. You have a full attack on the a file. Rook is there attacking some potential a2 squares. Bishop on e6 is very active. I mean, very dangerous position for Judith on this board. I mean, huge chances for the chess-nerd community. Meanwhile, what about the Champions of Courage? I think we haven't checked that game for some time. I remember they captured that pawn on d5 earlier on, and they're up a pawn in this position.
And I would say that this is really what started the momentum wave for Judith's opponents, right? It was knight takes d5 that triggered it all. And Judith, she did get the queens off the board. So she's a pawn down here. No question that black is in the driver's seat, really playing for two results. And I would say that Judith probably will end up taking this bishop and playing bishop d3. And no question in my mind that Judith will not lose this endgame. Black is up a pawn, yes, but with opposite colored bishops, it's going to be very hard to put this pawn to use, especially given this massive time advantage. But I think this one should end in a draw, barring any major blunders.
And also considering the pawn being on d6, it's going to be really tough for black to do something with it. It could be a potential weakness, so it's not going to move any further soon. So it's for sure the game which most likely is going to end up with a peaceful result, unless some crazy blunder will happen. Being down on time, that's possible. So who else do we have there putting resistance to the greatest female chess player in the history of chess?
Well, Chess Kid has done a valiant job of recovering from that opening debacle, but Judith has been in her element here, conducting the initiative so masterfully. And here, I think she can just grab the pawn on c5. 90 seconds for the kids. That might not be enough. And they might not have enough pieces on the board. Because if Judith takes this pawn, I'm not seeing what black can do. Because in the event of a trade, I mean, look at this. Look at this pawn on e5, the knight, bishop coming in. White will now have three pawns for the exchange. And what a monster knight on d6.
Yeah, and people might say the double pawns are weaknesses, but in this case, I mean, e5 pawn is a pretty strong one. I mean, potentially also the e3 pawn can march. Of course, it's not ideal pawn chain which you would like to have, but still it's an extra pawns, extra opportunities. And I love how Judith, even though being down in exchange, has such a brilliant position in this board. And she's going for it. She's taking a pawn.
Indeed. And that was the board that she was thinking about. Bishop takes c5 should come close to sealing the deal. And I think the big question now is how quickly can Judith end and convert several of the winning positions that she has. If she can get those games done, as you said, that gives her the mental bandwidth and, you know, the physical space to focus on the difficult positions that she has. Especially the one against Zachary Sane. In terms of the Chess.com game, I think Chess.com just allowed a transition to a losing pawn endgame.
Yeah, you have to be always careful about this. You have to always take into account the trade of the light pieces, like in this case, bishop and then versus the knight. And yeah, 3 against 2 on the king side are going to seal the deal here.
Yeah, but actually it's not so simple. So let's say Judith takes on e6, which she will. Right? Now, the reason I think it's winning is because white has the 3-on-2, as you're saying, and black has the crippled pawn majority. But if black plays b7, b5, and triggers an exchange, then black's pawn structure will be rectified. So actually, I think king c4 might be wrong because the king slides over to d6, and then black will play b6, and then a6, and then b5 check. So Judith will still have to demonstrate some high-level endgame technique here. Maybe king to d3 is the secret sauce, and putting a pawn on c4, just shutting down black's pawn majority entirely, and then using this 3-on-2 and eventually converting it into an extra pawn. I think Judith has this one in the bag, though, with 57 minutes.
Absolutely. I agree
looks
with
pretty
you.
good.
And I think also taking the knight is not the only option which she has. She can also keep the bishop on the board, because normally when there are pawns on the two opposite sides of the board, the bishop is a stronger piece. So we might see the trade, we might not see it, but indeed the pawn endgame is losing, unfortunately, for Chess.com community. And Artful Inspiration is not yet resigning, still trying something, even though being down a full piece. But there
The
is
reason
not.
I think this is the board that Judith was pausing on. I'm not totally sure, but okay, she will recapture on D1 and she is totally winning. The sports legends are getting into the end game that we discussed. So this is on the board still.
Yeah, we see the moves have not yet been played here, but we expect some transition to the rook endgame, winning rook endgame for Judith. That will still cost some time and energy for her to fight it. What do we have else?
Okay, so just to cap off this, we're expecting Judith to take on E5 and infiltrate to D7. And at that point, it'll be, a couple of accurate moves away from victory. Against the News Navigators, Judith is in big trouble, I think, in this endgame. Because the queens were swapped, as we discussed. Judith broke through with D5, but Rook E7 navigating this endgame so well. And Black is a pawn up with a 3-on-1 majority on the queen's side.
It looks very interesting, how the game started. I mean, if I remember correctly, News Navigator did some very big mistakes at the beginning, right? And then somehow they solidified and tried to play so well, even though they're getting down and down in time, now being up to down to 8 minutes on the clock. What about other communities, such as what about the quick improvers of International Master Armen Juhas?
So let's take a look at that one. Just a quick update, Angelica. In the Chess.com community game, Judith has traded on E6 and she has found King D3. That right there is some class by Miss Polgar. Just the speed with which she sensed that this endgame is winning. That
it's
tells
a
you
grandmaster approach.
That's the sort of Eastern European school right there. Just sniffing out this endgame. She will win this game. But I gotta credit Armen and his team because they were down a piece, then they were down a rook, but they have managed to keep up the pressure here. And this is actually not as trivial of a conversion as I thought it was initially. White is a rook up, but these bishops are really nasty. And this dark square pin is not that easy to deal with. Judith has to be careful, and she has to keep this bishop on G7 at bay.
What do you think about giving an exchange and staying a piece up in the position? Or wait, what it would be? It would be a piece up, right?
Piece up. But if I could give away a rook for that bishop, I would. I would be considering a move knight D4. Maybe this is what you...
And then after bishop takes E5, you can take this rook on E5. Then you can...
Exactly.
That would be
she
ideal.
plays knight C4. Also, great move, aiming for B6. Lovely.
Looks like a huge domination by Judith on this board. What else do we have happening there? I mean, all the boards are being down on time. All the communities are being down to 8-4. I see even 1 minute Chess.com community. That's why probably they have been had to go for a move so fast because being on down 1 minute. Also Chess Kit community. Oh my God.
Yeah, that one's in the toilet as well. I think Chess.com and Chess Kit might be going down all at the same time. Just quickly to Chess Kit has lost another piece. Judith dropping her knight away. Boom, goes the dynamite. And now she's going to withdraw her knight. This is, I think, time to resign for the kids if Judith moves her knight away, because at this point she'll have 2 pieces for the rook. And this is just completely winning. Against the sports legends, Judith declined a queen trade, opting to win with an attack. Also reasonable, but all eyes on this game because Zachary took on H3, opened the A file, and now prepares to evacuate the queen back into the center. Judith maybe will try G5 to create some counterplay against Black's king.
Judith is in trouble. I mean, this position where Black is up a pawn, black is up an attack on the king. A lot of things which can go wrong, but g5 is for sure something what we have to make sure is not a huge threat. But in this particular case, you might even just consider playing h5 after g5, so just to keep the position closed on the king side.
Indeed. She has to make black scared. She plays it. Judith and the sense of an attack. This is a big move because if she can open the G file, things actually get spicy. Zachary's team down to 6, 3 minutes, but H5 to keep the file closed. What about G6? Shove that pawn through like a battering ram.
G6, can you play F6? Can you keep it all closed? But the pawn on G6 might be dangerous. Maybe Queen D6, Queen E7 ideas potentially. It's very dangerous right now.
That pawn is like in Game of Thrones when the battering ram just keeps smashing away at the gates to the castle.
Yeah, absolutely. The G pawn is very much annoying, so that's why Chess Nerd community has to make sure to create some other threats. But yeah, both sides are attacking.
Judith walking around, looking for the most urgent board. I'm just trying to figure out where she's concentrating her efforts. The Chess Kid and Chess.com communities are going down simultaneously. This one's over. Look at how nicely Judith has positioned her pawns. Black's pawn majority is a majority in name only. Judith is about to send her kingside pawns up the board. This is elementary, my dear Watson.
But I think it's also very instructive, right? That you are not taking the pawn on b5. So you have to make sure with white that you're not taking the pawn. Because if you take with the a pawn, then we will see the c pawn being undoubled, and then there is going to be the pawn majority for black on the queen side. So there is a majority of the pawns on the king side for white, and there's going to be the same situation on the queen side. So that's why Judith is not allowing it while creating a passer on the king side, which is looking pretty easy. She's pre-moving the moves, I feel like.
This was awesome. I'm just so impressed with how quickly Judith took on e6 and just understood what the winning setup is. This right here is, 30 plus years of experience. And for those who think, Judith is an attacking wizard. No, you don't become, number 8 overall in the world just by having one strength. She is a universal player. Now I think the only thing to avoid for white might be f5. No, this is a draw. What a tricky little resource by Chess.com, because the problem is that black is a fortress. Black will have a fortress and white will have no way to cause Zugzwang in this position. And no way to get her king to e5. So Judith has to make a waiting move like king f3 or king e4. And
Can she grab on g5?
Can she grab? She probably can also do this. Yes. Yes. And the 2-on-1 should decide because king h4, king h2. And very instructive idea is just to wait it out, right? Just to go king h2, king g2, king h2, king g2. And eventually black runs out of waiting moves and has to evacuate with a king.
Yeah, the king goes back, but the pawn's moving forward. And in this position already, there is enough of space for the white's king to enter the position. Looks like completely winning. Slowly but confidently, Judith is going to win this game. What about Chess Nerd position? I'm worried about it.
I am too. Well, Chess Kid is going down. They will resign any second now. G6, F6 on the board, Angelica. You called it. Zachary's team not worried about this monster on g6. This gives Judith a glimmer of hope. Can she go rook h1 and go for the h5 pawn?
And actually threaten a checkmate.
Oh, yeah.
If queen takes on h5, there's going to be a checkmate on h8.
What is black's response to rook h1?
Maybe queen g2, threaten to take on g6, but...
Queen takes h5.
You just take it. You just take it.
The eval bar doesn't seem worried. It's rook h1, bishop g4. But this is such a difficult move, counterattacking the queen. This might be the only way for black to avoid a disaster. And do they see that?
I mean, rook h1 looks so logical. You want to capture on h5 in the next move, but bishop g4 intermezzo. Is chess nerd community aware of this? I mean, they're down to 2 minutes on the clock. It's not so easy to calculate
Not at
all
all.
of these options.
And remember, panic sets in. You start regretting, why did I allow a pawn on g6? But bishop g4 is what stands between black and essentially checkmate on the h file. Just a quick update. Hungarian sports legends. The queens have been traded as we expected. And Judit should convert this pawn up endgame in rook d8 check, rook d7. Really anything should seal the deal here momentarily.
I think also she has to be careful, yeah, because there could be some rook e2 idea, yeah, just trying to get to the pawn on f2. And if 2 rooks are going to be active on the second rank, then might be some ideas of perpetual check. So it's indeed a little bit, dangerous still, but winning for Judith.
And that's probably why she should give the check on d8, right? To just force one of the rooks off the board. And then when she infiltrates with the second rook, that would be a lot more effective. But you're right, rook d7, rook e2, still maybe a tiny glimmer of hope. Endgames are always tricky. Speaking of which, okay, Judith found all of the best moves against the Chess.com community. She's just a couple moves away here from her first victory of the simul.
Yes, and she's doing it all very quickly. We can see, has 49 minutes on the clock. On the monster clock, she's like having at least 40 minutes, but not on the board against Artful Inspiration, but she's winning there. She's completely winning there, so we're not worried about that.
Yeah, she's taken c6. She's got 35 minutes, and this is a done deal. Champions of Courage, not much has changed there. It's still that pawn up endgame, so not much to talk about there. Chess Kid might be going down momentarily here. And so that's going to leave us with, the toughest games. Looks like Armen Juhas has given up one of the bishops. And Judith, I think, is planning on exchange sacrifice against the other one. But no, queen takes f3.
He's taking the pawn. He's saying, I'm not yet taking on e5. Maybe idea could be also to take with a pawn on e5 and then put for something like e4, opening up the bishop. So it's still a bit dangerous because the king is fully opened on a1. You're up a rook, but your king is in a bit tough of a spot here.
If I had this in a bullet game, I'd be pretty terrified against someone like Hikaru with white here. I mean, tell you, with all these random lateral checks. But Judith has enough time here.
Judith is not afraid of Hikaru, so
or of Magnus.
yeah.
Who hasn't seen the Madrid Blitz game at this point has become viral sensation. Okay, Zachary has played bishop g4, but interestingly, Judith did not go rook h1. She went rook e1, and still bishop g4 ensued. And these guys are sharp. These guys are sharp.
They see everything. Bishop g4. I mean, it's very difficult move to see. But also, Judith didn't go for rook h1.
I think Judith's going to win this game, though, just because of the time situation. If she can move her queen up to the center, I mean, she's got rook a1, by the way, coming in because of the back rank mate. So that's another idea as well. I feel like Zachary might not have enough time here just to navigate this position. It's getting
what about
dicey.
News navigators?
News navigators still up a pawn, still playing like bosses. But Judith's going after the a6 pawn. I think bishop b7 is her idea.
Yeah, bishop b7 actually a huge threat. Also bishop c8 attacking the bishop, which is pinned.
Oh, yeah. By the way, the sports legends have offered an exchange of all of the rooks, which is another winning pawn endgame for Judith. So that one is, I think, almost over.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of endgames and pawn endgames.
And this is what happens in simuls. Like usually you have 4 or 5 games ending at the same time. This is really common. It's just the nature of how simuls work. The Chess.com community should be resigning here as well.
Yeah, this pawn endgame with a pawn on g5 looks very terrifying. So what else? We have only basically that game against the chess nerd community and the chess navigators, the games which are looking still suspicious, but Judith has a lot of time, right? That's her main advantage here. If she will finish the other games, a couple of games against Chess.com and Chess Kids and the artful, then we are going to see her put full focus on these games. But so far it's not easy. She still has to make some moves on those boards.
Yeah. And I mean, simul strategy varies. My strategy, if I was in her shoes, would be to just stay on the chess kid board, blitz out the rest of the moves because they have 14 seconds and finish 2 or 3 games because she's got the time to do that. Judith seems to be adopting the strategy of continuing to move around, more of an old school approach. There's no right or wrong here, but I wonder if there's somebody who is authorized to resign on behalf of Chess Kid because the time has come when I would say continuing to play is almost disrespectful if you're Chess.com community. So folks, I think it's time to put down your collective kings and take off your hats for the legend.
Yeah, I think there should be also an option, not only to vote for a move, but also to vote for
it's a
resignation.
It's a move.
A resignation,
and look at this position that Judith has against Chess Kid. Probably mate somewhere.
Actually, yeah, the king looks like almost checkmated. If knight goes to c4, bishop h3 would be a checkmate.
Okay, now which board is Judith focused on here? Is it the one against Zachary Sane?
It's tough to say because I don't really see her right now in the picture, but for sure the game which is always, I think this game is constantly in her mind, even though she's doing the moves on other boards. I think she's still trying blindfoldly to find a solution, finding a way how to proceed. Hungarian sport legends are trading all of the rooks.
Yeah, and Judith should just go into this pawn endgame. And it's actually quite instructive. Black's king is slightly more active than White's. And Angelika, I think most people would play king f1 here.
Oh.
This is probably winning, but less convincing. The best move here is actually to go to h2, right? It's not, you don't just want to blindly go into the center. The point here is to go after the h6 pawn. And if Black tries to create the force field, then White basically carves out a path with the move f4. And this is game over. I mean, White's going to go a4 and b5 and deflect Black's king when the time is right. So this is
super instructive, yeah. And those pawn majority on the queen side will finish it all, definitely.
Yes.
And yeah, it's for sure some moments should be there when they have to resign. But actually, king f1, was it played on the board? Or
no, I apologize.
No,
that
okay.
was me.
So
Judith still paused on this position. I think she just hasn't. In her mind, she marked this game as a sure win, so she's devoting her attention to the other ones. But where is she focusing now? I think on the news navigators currently.
It's possible, yeah. Because she's standing for quite some time at one of the boards and even talking to some of the participants, as you can see.
She does it all.
She's talking to them. Maybe someone resigned? I'm not so sure, but some people left the board.
A draw also could have been offered. That is allowed in simuls. Simul giver can offer a draw.
Actually, that game against Champions of Courage, yeah, that could be something where the draw can be offered. But of course, I think that the players are waiting the draw offer from the legend herself. Like it's kind of an unspoken rule of chess, right? You don't want to offer a draw when you're so to say underdog, yeah, in the according to the rating or according to position. So you expect the higher rated or more prestigious player to offer a draw in the position.
Yes, that's so true. And that's an important lesson for younger players, particularly, especially if you're playing in a simul. You don't have to accept the draw, right? If Simul Giver offers a draw, you think you can win, you can play. And indeed, we have a draw. Our first result, technically, of the Simul is a draw as champions of courage with that courageous tactic, knight takes d5, are able to hold Judit to a draw. A high-level game in the King's Indian was their opening of choice. Okay, 7 games to go. And a lot of those are going to be victories.
Courageous King's Indian defense was played. Maybe at the beginning it didn't look so well, but it was very important to find that strike of taking on d5, winning a pawn and bringing Judith to the peaceful outcome. Maybe we will have some of the players for the interview, we'll see. But for now, let's focus on the rest of the games, as Judith is also focusing right now. She has not so much time, around 35 minutes on each board. There are some games which are technically won already, but there are still some very, very dangerous positions for Judith.
Indeed. And I think it's just so hard to say which game will be the next to finish, because we will likely get some resignations. Chess.com community is dead lost. Chess Kid is dead lost as well. Sad to see for Chess.com, but a great fight was put up. And speaking of great fights, we will get Viraj Farkas of Champions of Courage here for a quick interview once we wire her up. And must be a good feeling to hold the legend to a draw, to be part of that successful team.
Viraj, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
First of all, congratulations to this
Thank
great
you very
result
much.
against the legend.
It was not just my success, it was the team, because we had a quite strong team. We talked always what we should move against Judith, and I think after the opening, we had a quite normal position, and now in the end we had a pawn up, but I think it was equal position, but we had unfortunately we had not too much time, so. But thank you.
Viraj, who found knight takes d5? The tactic that won the pawn? Was it?
Yes.
Did somebody find it, or was it just sort of a collective moment of realization?
We started thinking about what we should move, and my teammate saw this move. So we started thinking about what if we played this move, and we started thinking more and more, and we found it can be good. So, but we had more option what we should move, but we thought maybe this can be the best.
Tanya, maybe you could show it also on the board for the viewers.
Yeah, I'll put it on the board. Viraj, that was an incredible effort. Congratulations on pulling out the draw against Judith. I'm going to show everybody your tactic. And well done. Thanks for hopping on the studio.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
This was the critical moment. Judith jumping in with knight g5, but meeting the courageous knight takes d5, reviving black's position, and it was perfect technique from there on, ending in a position of strength. Okay, well done. Thank you, Viraj, for the interview.
It's very nice to, see also the people with a disability, still trying to enjoy to enjoy life, to play chess, to be part of the national teams. And very, very exciting that how well they could stand out to Judith and make a draw in this position. I think also for her it was an important moment here, because the game has finished and it's the most important, and I think she knew she couldn't make anything more than a draw from it, which makes her 7 more games to go, and she can try to focus more on the more critical ones.
There's a cliche of certain things breaking barriers, but chess truly does. I think in the main Olympiad there's a a visually impaired team. There's a team composed of deaf players, and there are lots of title players who are part of those teams. So chess truly involves absolutely everybody. And this is heartwarming and great to see. And a big congratulations to Champions of Courage. But on to the other games, because Judit is putting the finishing touches on her game against Chess.com community. Okay,
Oh.
I am resigning on behalf of the Chess.com community. All right,
Yeah, me
Mike
too.
Klein, let's put the king down here.
Yeah, the king on g5, taking the other pawn. I mean, there is nothing what is going to happen wrong on the queen side. The pawns are all blocked. You just grab a pawn. You can even checkmate with the pawns, potentially, with the 2 pawns. But...
Yep, and Judit will. Let me tell you, if they don't resign, they will see the full wrath of Judit Polgar, who, by the way, did not trade rooks against the Hungarian sports legend. This is a game that Judit should have finished a long time ago. And it's just sort of a headache, right? Now you have to convert a pawn up rook endgame. And you're completely winning, but it's still time off her clock.
And time off her clock for another game. So it's very important. What about the chess nerd game? Always being worried about the community game of chess nerd, chess influencer. What are they doing for now? And queen is on c4. Meanwhile, you called it earlier.
So check, king h8. This is the current position. Judit has been focused on the other boards. My initial thought here was rook e1 to h1 to try to set up the threat of queen takes g4. But guess what? If Judit plays rook h1, I'm worried about queen to a5. And the issue is if you take on g4, boom. It's not mate, but the problem is that black can simply take the rook, simultaneously protecting the h-pawn and basically winning the game. This is definitely the best chance that anybody has of defeating Judit Polgar, but they've only got 90 seconds against one of the strongest attackers in Judit with an excellent move to stop queen a5, or maybe not. I like this move. I think it's practically good.
I do too. Yeah, it looks very, very good move. I was thinking about rook a1, trying to trade off the rooks just to try to eliminate the attacking opportunities, but yeah, before it looks logical, maybe just weakening a little bit the position of the king. Maybe b5 and queen a7 could be something. But yeah, I mean, still, position is difficult, but still some chances for Judit to go with this rook h1 idea all the time is in the air.
And apparently the best move is bishop f5, and they found it. And this is like Magnus Carlsen might have left the Bermuda party to join this team because they are just monsters. And this is such a hard move. You're leaving the h-pawn undefended and going after white's only big strength, which is the g6 pawn. If you can win this pawn, then black's king is safe. If black's king is safe, then black can focus his attention on the a file.
How do you protect the pawn? I mean,
insane.
Insane.
Zachary, insane.
That's absolutely crazy. And how do you protect the pawn? There is only rook g1 or queen f7, but I'm not so sure it's going to work. Also, the a file, which is open, I mean, it looks pretty dangerous.
Mm-hmm. And queen f7 is tempting, but I think black can actually just take and drop the bishop back. And sadly, white cannot protect the pawn.
And that would be just down 2 pawns in the bishop endgame. And I think also very important note in this position after trade of the queens, it's not the opposite colored bishop endgame, but there are also rooks there. So there is still a huge chance to win. Because normally people think, oh, we have opposite colored bishops, so it should be a draw in the endgame. But it's not in this case. Rooks still count, and a lot.
Okay, looks like Chess.com community might have resigned. Let's see. Somebody resigned. Oh, looks like Hungarian sports legends might have resigned.
Yeah, looks like...
No. We're just getting news that there is a result, but we're trying to figure out what it is. I think it's another draw.
The news navigators. Judit managed to take a pawn, and we see that there is a draw.
Yes.
On the right side, on the left side of the board.
A
So
draw
they
was
agreed
offered
on
and
a draw.
accepted. And a reasonable result, Angelica. I mean, I think Judith did a great job winning the pawn back. Black is probably a little bit better here, but given the time situation, a good result for Judith, who was in serious danger of losing this game. Now she can focus on the other boards. So a second draw by Sagar, Dirk, and company.
Yeah, we
All
might get
eyes.
someone in the studio from the news navigators, and yeah, we can maybe ask some questions about the game because it was actually a very interesting game. It also started very slowly, but finished very interestingly. Meanwhile, the Chess Kit and Chess.com community are not resigning.
They're still, I mean, the chess kids are still fighting, actually. They actually still at least have some meat on the bone. Chess.com community, I'm putting my Russian coach hat on and saying, very disappointing. You need to resign and respect the, the legends. But hey,
And
you
meanwhile, we
guys
have
do your thing.
a guest, a special guest in the studio. Sagar Shah is here, the founder of Chess-Base India, and also one of the participants of the Simul of the News Navigators team. Hi,
Hello.
Sagar, how are you doing?
Hi. Hi, Angelica. Hello, Daniel.
Hi, Sagar. Man, what a
Uh,
game. You had Judith on the ropes. You guys are just a team of beasts. What was it
I
like?
think it was like Bodhana being there gave us so much of confidence because she had no nerves. She was calculating like every single move. Tremendous.
And you had this
I thought like
95.
yeah,
Sorry.
this was something that Bodhana thought. But even before that, I was thoroughly impressed when she suggested this move F5. I don't know if that move can be pulled up, but it was an amazing move that she played, weakening all the dark squares. And yeah, it was not here, like EF6 later on, afterwards, like when we got another chance. Yes, this move. Maybe it's. I felt it was risky, but it
It
was
was a great
like
practical
threatening.
chance.
Yeah, great practical try.
And then who found 95? Because that was badass.
Yeah,
This move.
that
That was the
that
move.
was Bodhana. Yeah, that was brilliant. Again, her like
Badass.
she's too strong, and I think I really enjoyed being with her here. She's here now. Bodhana, you should tell about your 95 move.
Wow.
Hey, Bonana.
Hi.
Congratulations. Mrs.
Thank you.
95.
So I wanted to go into the end game because we had more chances there.
Was it just a flash of inspiration, or did the move occur to you instantly, or after some thinking time?
It's kind of like the first thing I thought of.
Not bad. And it immediately turned the tables. Borna, can you just describe the atmosphere? What is it like to face Judith in this situation? How did you keep your composure throughout the game?
Well, we like talked through the moves together, and we like sometimes we had debates of which move was better, but in the end we managed to decide.
But Anna, you're playing the Olympiad, and today is a day where you could have taken a rest, but instead you come here for the Global Chess Festival, and you're still playing chess. You're not having enough of chess, right? You want to play more and more.
Yeah.
All right. And you decided to join the News Navigators team, or it was just you were just following their games and gave some suggestions?
No, Dominic Lawson. He's from England as well. So he asked me to come, and
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations. All right, thank you so much, Bodana, and wish you best of luck
Wow,
also
thank
for
you.
the
It's very kind
Olympiad.
of you.
You're going to
Thank you.
Thank you,
starting
Borna.
from tomorrow,
Congratulations.
the second half.
Thank you.
Oh, you got certificate there. Wow.
All right. Well deserved. Congratulations. We'll let you get
Thank
some
you
rest
very
before
much.
tomorrow.
Another box.
All right.
Yeah, actually, at the beginning of the simul, I think Chess.com community went live, and I saw Bodana there, and I was not sure what she was doing on for which board, for which community was she playing. But now it seems like she was joining the news navigators, and she was, I think, very powerful force there. She was indeed a huge improvement for the team, finding this 95 great move.
She is just a dynamo. I mean, she's 2,200 FIDE. Every time I check her FIDE page, her rating has shot up 200 points. Unbelievable talent. And, just the composure and maturity, it's off the charts. So if you're not a fan, then and you don't like chess, chess isn't for you if you're not a fan of Vajda. Best of luck to her and her team. Chess.com community has lost. Judit has scored her first win of the simul in lovely positional fashion, defeating the Chess.com community. Y'all put up a great fight, though. Give yourselves a pat on the back.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, I think there is a moment where you have to realize you have to pay respect for your opponent, who is a legend, and you just have to decide, okay, I would like to resign. And we see, I think, resignation by Chess.com community.
Yes, it's a couple moves away from mate. And Judit has indeed officially won that game. She's also going to beat Armen Juhas, who should be resigning momentarily as soon as Judit goes after this a6 pawn. Looks like some of the teams starting to fall, but I'm looking at this game against the sports legends, and Judit she is not demonstrating her usual sharp technique here, giving Black actual serious strong chances in this game.
Yeah, because right now there is some f3 threat in the position all the time, so you cannot really capture on h5 yet. You have to play something like king f2 first. You have to remove the king from the pin, and then you can try to take a pawn. I think it would be much easier decision to go for the pawn endgame, right? We were talking about and win another pawn game, but we'll see. It still looks like White is having a huge advantage and winning opportunities, but rook endgames are tricky.
Wow.
What about the game against Chess Nerd? What is happening there?
Well, Zachary and company continue to just outshine all expectations. Judit is completely lost on this board, completely lost. She's a pawn down with no attack and getting mated. This will take a miracle to turn around. And a minute on the clock for Black, but they have made this minute last. And I'm not seeing it here for Judit. She has to finish some of these other games and devote her full attention to just lasting as long as she can on this board. Maybe queen to c4. Try to get the queens off the board. I'm not even seeing a way to do that.
Yeah, because queen d5 is a huge threat, right? Queen d5, rook a2, queen a2. I mean, there are lots of things which hang there. You have to go back with the queen to c4 to stop that threat. But bishop to a6 could be also a move. I mean, this is very tough to find a solution. And actually, I mean, I'm just looking at the time on this board, and I remember that Thackeray and the company, the Chess Nerd, had 1 minute, I don't know, like 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago, and only Judith's time is going down in this game, and they still at 1 minute. It's impressive.
Let me remind you of the truism. The second hour passes a lot faster than the first. And we're seeing that here because Judit is down under 20 minutes on some of these boards, including the game against Artful Inspiration, who've somehow been able to keep fighting this entire time and actually keep a position which at least has some life. Judit has to move her queen here while keeping both of these pawns protected, which I don't think she can do. I think she has to give up the e4 pawn, but that means doing some calculation. And, if she's under 10 minutes, that's when things start to get a little concerning. Which board is she currently focused on? I think she's trying to find a move against the nerds.
Yeah, it looks like she's at that board. Yeah, I slightly can see that the Thackeray is sitting there. I mean, she's spending quite some time. She's not sure. I mean, I'm also not sure. But okay, on the other hand, let's maybe remind everyone, Judit is not just playing against one person who is sitting there. She's playing against the whole community. And while talking about Chess.com community, we're speaking here about millions of users, millions of players who potentially can play against her. So we don't know how many exactly voted. So it's playing against a group of people, and which actually eliminates this blunder opportunity when you're sitting there thinking all together. And if someone blundered, the other person can spot it and stop you from blundering. So that's kind of an advantage of this community, Simon.
It is indeed, and makes it, just hard because all the games are going to go on for a long time. 3 results thus far, 2 draws and a victory for the legend as Judith comes up with a move, Queen D1. She needs to keep this game going as long as she can. And that is what super GMs are so good at. Look at this sneaky little move, threatening H5. And Judith says, hey, I got some threats up my sleeve. Bishop E6 here, I think, is the most accurate response.
Yeah,
Is there even any doubt that Zachary is going to find it?
Yeah, I mean, it looks very, very aggressive. You're going all the way with rook to A2. And meanwhile, actually, if we can pull up maybe the footage of the playing when Judith was just recently talking to Mike and to Elling, and they both already resigned. So Chess Kid and Chess.com community just resigned. Just there was a handshake with the Judith. We don't really see it now because all the cameraman, all the videographer wants to take a footage of Judith. But there has been a handshake and the games are officially over.
Chess Kid has resigned. The position was totally hopeless. Very gracious by Funmaster Mike. And a great fight put up by the kids. It was tactical. They recovered from a bad opening and did everything they could. Armen Juhas has also resigned. Full rook down. This leaves us with only 3 games remaining. The Hungarian sports legends have blundered. They rushed in with F3. And they have forgotten about rook F5 check. This might conclude yet another game. But Judith has 10 minutes on her clock. She's got to manage her time well.
10 minutes on the clock, and also all the boards are located far from each other. So she has to run the whole to one board to another, and quickly she's coming to another board. She's playing quickly a move. She's going back to Zachary and trying to hold on.
But she can't. She lost her queen. This should do it. If Zachary can avoid blundering a back rank mate, which, by the way, is not a given as long as there's a pawn on G6, this is completely winning for black.
Wait, didn't she have bishop D4 intermezzo? Was there or not?
E2 maybe.
No, there queen A2. So there is nothing.
There is one trick. I would try rook C1. But queen takes b4. You can never get the rook to d1 because it's always going to get forked. And Judith might resign here.
Yeah, it looks like. And we are going to have someone special for the interview here.
Because they were moving a piece after they made the move.
Hello.
Right?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we have a Chess.com community representative, official representative of Chess.com community here in the studio. You fought really well. Congrats on standing so many wolves against the legend.
That was a goal, actually. We were trying actually to swap a lot of pieces and thinking, okay, we are going to survive. We are going to last longer than Chess Kid. But for just one move, we didn't. So it was fun. It was fun, actually. We had around like 100 people participating in the chat, giving a lot of moves, trying different things. We were discussing about everything. I think we needed a bit more time next time, because at some point we were like just with 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and it was like very hard in the time travel to try to decide them all. But it was super nice game. And actually we got this present as well for just participating. Ooh. So yeah, I'll give it. How is everything going in the simul?
Well, it's been very explosive. Judith was in control to start, but it looks like she might be on the cusp of losing one of the games against Zachary and the nerds. And in large part, that's thanks to the effort of the kids who kept her busy and kept her calculating. But Judith might be going down in that one game. I think she's got the other 2 boards under complete control.
Wow. Oh, I can't believe actually that in one board that's happening. We thought that actually like nobody will even make a draw there, but I understand that it's super hard. Like I really admire Judith because Judith is playing moves and then like just giving speeches or taking photos, interviews in the middle of the game, and I'm like, how did she do that? We are 100 people in the chat, like just trying to concentrate and focus on only one game, and she's playing the simuls besides all the interviews and things going on here. So she's a queen. She's totally queen.
Maybe you can share with us how was it exciting for the community, you know, to have such a chance to be part of the simul, even though they were like so far away from the Budapest, but they have been participating. What was the chat about? What was their emotions, moods?
No, they were super happy and to participate. And actually, I think it's really good opportunity for everyone to enjoy chess together as a one community. Usually in chess, actually, you are playing alone against another opponent. And this is like, this is something that we are trying to bring with chess. And it's something that Judy is also like trying to promote here, that chess connect us. What other way to show it, like with the simul, with communities, like they were all happy to participate. And like, even if like sometimes we couldn't actually make their move of everyone because like we had too many options, I think they were happy with the overall like experience in general. So yeah, I'm glad actually that we can organize such a stuff for our community. This is our goal actually, to use chess for fun and for people like actually that they can be happier and enjoy chess. So yeah, all good.
Thank you, Ayelan. Well, we're following these last couple of games. It looks like Judith has the Hungarian sports legends just where she wants them. She's rowing that boat to shore, but you can see her running around because the remaining boards are far from each other.
Thank you so much, Ayelan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayelan. All right.
So we have 3 games, right, against the Hungarian sport legends. Judith is in full control. We have another special guest for the interview here. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
So yeah, we are having here with us one of the community representative or international master, Armen Juhas. How did your game go at the end? I mean, did you lose? I'm sorry, because we were following another game and their games are finishing so quickly after another.
Yes, unfortunately, we lost. So it was a very interesting game. My community decided to play the accelerated dragon. And I think in the very beginning, we had a very nice position. And also Judith mentioned that if we played d6 earlier, maybe we could be better. Later, White played long castles, which was very exciting if you check the game later. And my kids decided to take one free pawn, but that was a gambit pawn. And unfortunately, after that, we lost a knight. And later, we decided to sacrifice an exchange as well. And we had some counterplay because we had a dragon bishop, but we were down a rook. So against Judit Polgar, it's very difficult with one rook down. Huh?
Well, you guys put up a great fight. Can you talk a little bit about the atmosphere and just the general feeling of playing a legend like Judit Polgar? What does it mean for you and your teammates to have an experience like this?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. So we are called the Center Chess Club. We are the biggest chess club in Hungary. So it was a very big event for us, and we prepared together. So it was exciting, and also the National Gallery here in Budapest is really special. So it's very beautiful to play here, and of course it was very nice that all the teams were rooting for each other, and we tried our best. But of course Judith is a legend, so it's very difficult to play against her.
Are you also taking some part of organization of the Chess Olympiads besides, being here today at the Global Chess Festival? Are you being also at the Chess Olympiad?
Yes, actually, this is my free day, but I am here, so it's not a real free day. So I am the chess commentator for the Hungarian broadcast. So we are there every day. and we are analyzing the game in Hungarian language. And we have some special guests, like all the Polgar sisters were there, Grandmaster Zoltán Almási, Grandmaster Erdős, so several very, very strong players. And we analyze all the games from 3 until 9 at the evening. So we are live on video, and we do our best, and we really enjoy it. And it's very special for me because my younger brother is playing in the Hungarian team, because Hungary can send more teams. So in the Hungarian C team, my brother is playing, and he has 4.5 points out of 6. So he is doing very, very well.
That's great to hear. Congratulations on putting up a fantastic fight, and we'll let you enjoy the rest of the simul. Best of luck to your brother, and thanks again for popping onto the studio.
Thank you very much, and good luck for everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Köszönöm szépen,
Bye,
Armen.
Armen.
It's thank you very much actually in Hungarian, because yeah.
And in the meantime, it looks like Zachary is putting the finishing touches on what will be Judith's only loss in the simul. Just flawless technique through and through. Judith has defeated Artful Inspiration with some impeccable technique. It means there's only 2 games left. And there's about to be 0 games left, because the sports legends, I think.
D4, pawn goes to B1, promoting with a check. And unfortunately, there is no longer this pawn on G6. I mean, I would love to have that pawn on G6 to give some potential threats of the checkmate, but yeah, it's not there. Looks like final touches in the position we played by the Dakarese community.
I mean, they can just go B2 at any moment here and fork any one of these pieces. Judith doing everything she can, but B2 is coming. And a victory secured now for Zachary Sane and the chess nerds from Canada. What a win, and what a game, honestly. Just so smooth from the middle game onwards. Ever since they managed to get those opposite colored bishops, it was smooth sailing.
It was very smooth, but I'm just recalling this one moment in the game, in the opening. If you remember, there was a knight e6 opportunity for Judith.
Yes.
Where she didn't take that pawn.
This
I mean, that
moment
could have
right
been
here, it would have turned the game around. It would have won the game right out of the opening.
Instantly, right?
Basically instantly. And ever since they got into this middle game, just the flawless play, attacking down the A file. And then bishop G4, bishop F5, fearless defense. Judith did everything she could. She defended so valiantly, but it was just flawless play by Zachary. And they scored the only victory over Judit Polgar in this simul. It means we have 1 game left, and this game will not last for long, because Judith is putting the finishing touches here on a victory over the sports legends to conclude the simul. What a finale. These last 30 minutes. Whew. Gotta catch my breath.
Yes, so much going on, like so much action. I mean, that's how you mentioned earlier. That's the way the simuls go, right? First, it's starting super slow, but later it just finishes one game after another. We had so many interviews. We had so many people coming in one after another, and yeah, this is just exciting action.
Judith has resigned against the chess nerds. The final moments of this simul. A huge congratulations. And yeah, Judith will defeat the Hungarian sports legend. All right, folks, time to resign. What a simul. And so Judith in the end will have won 4 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, 2 draws and 1 loss. All things considered, the strength of her opposition, a very successful result. 5, 6.5 out of 8 against groups that involve titled players. What an effort.
I fully agree, because I mean this has been not simul against 8 people. Yeah, one more time, it has been a simul against communities represented by those people. Some of them were offline. There were some group of people who tried to discuss together which move to play, like this the Courage team, or for example the Sports Legends team. We had news navigators also there, who has been trying to put a fight against the strongest woman in the chess world, the legendary Judit Polgar. And we have a result, the final result.
Mhm.
Hungarian sports legends resigned.
It's over. And what a privilege it is just to watch Judith in action. You know, she doesn't have to do this. She's a legend as it is, but the fact that she's willing to put herself out there, you know, to do a simul that's just as hard as playing a classical game, having now been retired from classical chess since the Olympiad a couple of years ago, just speaks volume about her strength of character and, you know, what Judith represents for everybody who gets a chance to experience her in person and remotely. This has been just a fantastic to watch. Of course, a huge congratulations to those who pulled out draws, the Hungarian, the News Navigators, the Champions of Courage, and of course, Zachary Sane for their victory. But Judith taking 5 prisoners today in fantastic style, including the Chess Kit and Chess.com communities.
Yeah, the huge result, and also she made it look so easily. I mean, she was moving from one board to another. She was giving interviews in the meantime. She was signing some autograms, I believe, and she was doing a lot of things besides just playing chess. And we've heard that the communities were just focusing on this particular one game, and it was already so much tough to stand a chance against her. But yeah, I mean, she is a true legend, true ambassador of chess, the women chess as well, the chess generally, not only her, but also her sister, Susan Polgar. I mean, they're all doing a lot for chess since they've retired. They're doing a lot of educational programs. She's hosting this incredible global chess festival already for 10 years. And before that, by the way, it started in 2007 as some small kind of festival. It was not yet global chess festival back then, but for 10 years, it's already officially a global chess festival. Super exciting event every year in Budapest.
What an event. And it's great to see the organizers of the Olympiad putting every day to use, right? It's the rest day for the players. It's easy to just phone it in. No, it's the Judit Polgar Festival. And, you know, this honestly has been such a memorable experience, I'm sure, for those groups in person at the National Gallery in Budapest. You know, it's much less about the results. And I think, you know, the older players understand this. It's less about the result in the simul, and it's more about the experience of being there, watching a legend in action and playing a part in the unfolding drama today as we get Judit Polgar herself putting on the headphones to offer her closing thoughts on a heroic effort today. Judit, let's see if Judit can hear us. Hi, Judit. Can you hear us?
Yes, hi. Hi, how are you? Yes, I do.
Good. Congratulations, Judit. You must be exhausted. What are your immediate thoughts upon the conclusion of this Herculean effort?
Why did I lose that game? Basically, yeah, it was somehow I completely misplayed it. I was annoyed a bit that it's not very interesting. It was like equalish at some point, and but it was. It's not that I had a very good position and I ruined it. I just played not so active and not so ambitious.
Mm-hmm. Judit, can you just talk a little bit about your overall simul experience? What game are you proudest of? And just sort of your overall reflections as this eventful day winds down.
Actually, there were some interesting, maybe the most interesting game was against the News Navigators, but there was a little help of Vajda. She was at the location and she was like telling some moves, but it was very nice to see her. That game was very interesting, I think. That is something, a game that I'm still thinking that, what is that position if I don't play Rook H6, for example, where Vajda immediately helped them out with saying knight e5. And after that, it was me who had to somehow handle it properly. Somehow before I liked my bishop pair a lot, and I thought I can do something special on the black squares.
Judith, the day for you didn't start with a simul. It has been a long day already. You had already signing of the book session. Maybe you could tell us what have you done before the simul, because it felt you were still full of energy, even though you had so many activities.
Yes, it's a very nice vibe over here at the National Gallery. Still quite some people, even though in half an hour it's going to be closing time. But we had a very fun game together with my sister Sophia. I was on one side and she was on the other side. And some grandmaster joined also on a garden chess set, big chess set. So there was a big crowd. And actually that game was a very interesting game. Berkes from the Hungarian national team, he was joining us. And my sister Susan also on the other side, Sophie's husband, Grandmaster Posashvili. And also some people from the Chess Olympiad. It was a pause. It was a very fun game. We sacrificed in exchange and then we blundered something, but after some messy play, it was a draw. So that was the other great chess fun thing.
Were there more players from the Olympiad coming to be part of the Global Chess Festival besides Berkes?
Yes, actually, we saw quite a few with the accreditation card and speaking English and other languages. I met them mainly when we were making the book signing. Then there were a lot of people making pictures and asking for signatures.
Judith, before we let you rest, can you quickly talk about your the rest of your Olympiad plans? What are the plans for the next few days? And just your final closing thoughts on today's festival.
Actually, it's kind of a chess marathon for me because it is the Olympiad. I have the Global Chess Festival running. This was first day. And tomorrow there's going to be an educational chess summit where we have more than 20 speakers talking about chess, how it helps education and what are the benefits, which I'm very excited about. And later on the 20th, I'm going to be commentating the Olympiad on Chess.com, which I'm very much looking forward because at least I have the time then to follow some of the games. And then the last 2 days for the weekend, I'm going to be probably going out to the venue of the Olympiad and trying to enjoy.
Judith, thank you so much for offering your thoughts during the simul and after the simul. You're a legend, and it was an honor to cover your games today. Get some rest.
Thank you very much for you to be here and commentate the games. They were not such a high quality. Maybe next time. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
It was fun. Thank you, Judith.
Bye.
Bye. And with that, Judit Polgar, the greatest female player of all time. She scores 6.5 out of 8 in the Judit Polgar Festival Simul. Angelika, just the energy, the enthusiasm, the positivity that Judit exudes at all times is really impressive. What a class act.
Absolutely amazing. It has been a great energy there, a great atmosphere, huge opportunity for all the chess lovers to fight against the true legend of chess, Judit Polgar. And it has been a pleasure also looking at those games and commentate together with you, Dania. Thank you so much for being my partner in crime for this day.
Angelika, thank you to you. It was our first commentary together, but certainly not our last. And of course, a huge shout out to Judit Polgar. A great honor and privilege to cover her games and to watch the legend in action. You have been watching the Judit Polgar Global Chess Festival 2024 as Judit simuls 8 groups of chess enthusiasts and scores 6.5 points for Angelina Volkova and GM Daniel Naroditsky. A big thank you to Sam and our entire production team behind the scenes. Folks, tomorrow, round 7 of the Olympiad commences at 9 a.m. New York time. Do not miss it. But with that, we wish you a pleasant rest of your Tuesday. Thanks again to Judith, and goodbye for now.